Can buying a new construction home be the smartest investment you'll ever make? Welcome to the Orlando Real Estate Lifestyle, where we explore the intersection of Orlando real estate and your best life. I'm Phil Kruse, here to help you make the most out of your journey in the City Beautiful. I've had a lot of buyers over the years that want to stay in their established communities in and around downtown Orlando, but they want to buy a new house. And they go and they look again and again at all these quirky homes that were built in the 40s and 50s and 60s. And they see the 8-foot high ceilings. They see the polished terrazzo floors, an Orlando special, right? The white floors with the little speckles in it. They see the chopped up floor plans sometimes. Maybe they see some flips that were done kind of okay. And what do they end up doing? They say, Phil, look, we just want a new house. We don't want to inherit anybody's problems. And they end up buying a new construction home. So that is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. The pros and cons, and mainly the pros about buying new construction homes. There are two main types that we're going to be covering. The construction homes, new construction homes that you're going to buy in these large scale communities where they're selling hundreds of homes, it's gated and there's a clubhouse and that sort of thing. And then the other new construction homes that you see in and around all these established neighborhoods where developers like myself, I'm also a single family home property developer, go in and knock down old dilapidated homes and or buy what's known as infill lots, which are the little slivers of land in between homes and established communities that for whatever reason were never developed. Those are the two I'm going to be helping you understand and giving you as much information as you would want if you ever find yourself in the market for a new construction home, or maybe just to consider it in your current search. But first, part of the reason I provide this free content to you is in the hopes that when it's your time to make a real estate decision, or if you're having a beer with a friend or a family member and they mention that they're looking to make a real estate decision or they have a real estate question, that you think of me. Please reach out to me on social media @_ Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K. Also, my cell phone number is always included here on the description of this podcast. So just hop on Spotify or Apple Podcasts or wherever, scroll down the description. You're going to see my cell phone number. Shoot me a text, give me a call. I'm here to help you. Oh, and while you're there, go ahead and like my podcast, give me a 5-star review. And it's easy to copy the link to this episode or to the podcast in general and share it with a friend via text or post it on your social media, even better. It really helps me out and I appreciate it. Now, you have the large communities and you have the small communities. Well, you have the individual houses in established communities, and then you have the large new build communities. Let's unpack that a little bit. Let's talk about the buying process associated with new construction. Now, first, we should talk about the buying process in general. If you've bought a home, you already understand this. If you haven't, here you go. It's pretty simple. When you buy a brand new house, when you buy a house, you're going to go see the house, right? You're going to kick the tires, and you're probably going to see multiple houses. You're going to submit an offer, okay? And in today's real estate market, if it's a house in a good neighborhood and it's in a decent condition, you're still, even with the high interest rate environment that we have right now, you're still going to be having a potential bidding war. There's negotiation that happens. Of course, you're going to hire a real estate agent to do this. Someone like myself is going to represent you. I'm going to help with the negotiation. We're going to help you understand the contract, all right? And after a round of negotiations with the seller, more than likely, if you're lucky, it's not a bidding war, you go under contract. So the price of those homes really are unknown. There's a list price, let's say $500,000, but really the listing agent, like me, representing you selling your house, is picking the best price they think is going to be most attractive to the market. Obviously, you want to have your home sell for the highest price, but you also want it to sell fast to get it done. I have a whole nother podcast about that dichotomy of selling fast versus selling at high prices. So there's a lot of variables there. There's a lot of emotions involved, okay? When you go to buy a brand new home from a new construction builder, it's a totally different process. For example, they're typically going to offer you incentives to buy the home, okay? So it's a fixed price, All right. You're not going to generally, now it's possible for you to negotiate with new home construction builders. You may not have known that. And that's where hiring a seasoned real estate professional like myself can come into play. If you know we're at the end of the month, or if they have a lot of homes that they need to sell, they might be desperate. Right? They might be beholden to their shareholders if they're a large builder. But generally, regardless, they're going to offer you some sort of incentive. If you use their lender, and this is the key, not your own lender that you may have a relationship with, they're going to offer you maybe a low interest rate, which, just so you're aware, all they're really doing is they're paying cash to their lending arm, which is technically two separate businesses. It can get confusing. But bottom line is they're paying money to the lender to what's called buy down the rate. So your interest rate right now might be 7%, 6.5%. They might buy that rate down through their own lender that you're going to have to use and get you down into the fives or maybe even high fours. Okay, so they're going to offer that. They might offer you cash, quote unquote, cash to use towards upgrading the home you're going to buy. So there's lots of incentives. They might they might give you flex cash. Oh, you can use some for buying down the rate. You can use some for upgrades. You can use some for lowering the contract price. Okay, they're going to try and get you in the door, get you to buy. And then you have two typical buy situations with new construction out in these large communities. You have the situation where you go in, you look at a map and you see what's available in the community as far as a virgin piece of land. And then you pick the floor plan that can fit on that land. Usually it's either 40 or 50 foot wide piece of land. In some cases, they're bigger. And you pick some from a menu of the packages that you want, and you sign a contract and you purchase that home. You got to wait for it to be built, though. And that could be easily a 6 to 8 month process, if not longer. Then they have something called a quick move-in home. Okay, it used to be called an inventory home. These are homes that the builder already started building in anticipation that the market, somebody like you, is going to want that specific floor plan in their community. They go ahead and they pick all the finishes, okay, the cabinet colors, the tile, the countertops, everything, all the appliances. And about half, either at the beginning or about halfway through the build process, they're going to offer that to the market as a quick move-in home and say, hey, Mrs. and Mr. Buyer, if you want to come, you can sign a contract for this home today. You don't have to wait 8 months for the home to be built. It's going to be ready in 2 months. Maybe it's already completely done. That happens oftentimes, that there'll be a quick move-in home that is got their certificate of occupancy. You can move in today. Another comparison to the traditional buying process is when you buy a regular home in an established community, like I explained earlier in the podcast, you're going to have a property inspection. And with a lot of these older homes and in today's insurance market, okay, there might be things that come up in the inspection like, oh, the roof is over 10 years old, or, oh, the AC is old. It's something we need to be concerned with. You might have trouble getting homeowners insurance for that property because of the roof age or some sort of special piping that's in the home. You're not going to have any of that when you buy new construction, right? It's a brand new home built to today's construction standards. You can still hire a property inspector, okay? A lot of people don't realize this. The builders try and discourage you from doing that. But you can still hire a property inspector to come out and inspect the home pretty much when it's about done. And that will provide a list of defects and repairs that need to be done before you move in. You can give that to the builder and say, hey, we need this done. They're going to add this to what they call their punch list. A punch list in new construction is at the very end when you walk the home with the builder and you put little blue tape on every defect that you can find. Oh, there's paint on this power outlet. Oh, and there's a dent on this appliance. This wall isn't finished correctly. There's a crack in this tile. I mean, the list can go on, and they'll add that to it. So don't be afraid to push for a property inspection. It's a professional that's coming out there to do it on your behalf. Otherwise, the builders will sometimes stay quiet. They won't necessarily point out the defects when you walk the home and you're potentially a layman. You don't really know what you're looking for. You don't know to look up. You don't know to look behind the doors, things of that nature. You don't know to turn the appliances on, things like that. But remember, and this is big, the quick move-in homes to me are a big, big point. So I want to circle back to that. If you're looking to buy new construction homes and you have a little bit of flexibility in what you're willing to take, the quick move-in homes are something that the builders, especially when they get towards the end of the build process of those quick move-in homes, they can become potentially desperate to sell those, and they can offer even more incentives. They can potentially lower the price, Engage with me, engage with a real estate agent. We can talk to them and see what level of negotiation we can engage in. Try and bring that price down. You don't have to wait for the home. You move in, brand new construction. It's gorgeous. Okay. So we've already touched on some of the pros of buying a new construction home. I mentioned some of the cons as well, but right now we're going to focus on the pros. When you buy a new construction home, obviously it's brand new. You're not inheriting somebody else's problems, somebody else's baggage. The home, generally speaking, is going to be in perfect working condition. And if it's not, and this is big, it's going to be under the builder's warranty. Now, if you buy a regular old used home, so to speak, you can negotiate that the seller provides you with a home warranty, which is something they buy from a third party on the internet for like $500, and it can warrant your appliances and a bunch of different things. In some cases, if you're buying an older home, that might be worth $500 a month to have the peace of mind in case the AC craps out on you. When you buy new construction, the warranty is already built in by law. So the builder has to warrant the home for a full year. And in most cases, the builder is also going to provide what's known as a 2-10 warranty. A 2-10 warranty means, I already explained that the first year is covered by the builder. The 2 and the 10 come in where for 2 years, all the major systems are covered. We're talking HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. Okay. And then 10 years, the 2-10, the 10 is for the structure, the roof and the bones of the home essentially are covered for 10 years. Side tip, inside baseball, the builders are buying that 2-10 warranty from a third-party warranty company as well. And if you do make a claim after that first year, you're going to have to go through a third-party intermediary that will then contact the builder and/or will send out their own warranty maintenance staff. Another huge pro, and in my opinion, this is probably the real reason that most people gravitate towards new construction. It's new, it's modern, it's HDTV. In a lot of cases, it's high ceilings, it's vaulted ceilings, it's the right colors of tile and cabinets. It's all done by an interior designer where they provide what they call a palette so that the doors match the trim, match the walls, match the floors, match the countertops, match the cabinets, etc. And it looks beautiful. It's extremely appealing. And you walk and you say, oh, this is truly a brand new home. I don't have to do anything. It's turnkey. A lot of people buy an old home and they say, oh, even if it was flipped, oh, I love all of this, but this one thing is going to need to be changed. Or we're going to have to add on to this in the future or address that in the future. Generally, with new construction homes, that's not an issue. Also, the construction standards are up to today's current building codes. And the reason I bring that up is because it's quiet. You have the most up-to-date brand new windows. You have insulation in some cases. Bottom line is it's tight. We call it a tight building. Okay. You're not going to have air infiltration, okay, through leaky windows, leaky doors. The home's probably not going to be on a crawl space. There's not going to be any leakiness associated with the attic and the soffit. Critters aren't going to be able to get in, right? Little rats and bugs are going to be harder to get in. So you're going to get that quiet, tight construction that's going to be good for energy efficiency. Another key point. The whole home is going to have an electrical system that's as energy efficient as possible. I mentioned the windows, tight door seals, all energy efficient, brand new appliances. It's going to keep your energy bills low for years to come. If you've ever lived in a 1950s home like I have near downtown Orlando on a crawl space, you know what it's like to pay absurd energy bills in the summer, really no matter what you do. You spray foam insulation under there, you tighten everything up, you replace the windows, things are still going to leak. It's just the nature of buying an old home, okay? So price appreciation is a huge pro associated with new construction. Now, this comes with a caveat. If you buy a new construction home in a large established community and you do it early in the process of the builder's building, okay, in many cases, if you go well outside of city center of Orlando, you're going to be in a community that, shoot, they might build 300 homes. It might take multiple years for them to accomplish that. It might be spread out between multiple builders. You might be in one community, there's 3 different builders in 3 different sections of the community. Well, if you buy in that community early on, which I would highly advocate, then let's say you get the home for $400,000 or $500,000. Every time the builder releases a new bank of homes, not every time, but oftentimes they incrementally raise the price by a few $1,000s. In some cases, it might be a significant increase. By the time they are done building that entire community, the same exact home that you bought with the same level of finishes, same floor plan, same lot size, everything might be worth $50,000 more. And that's just them incrementally raising the price, not to mention the traditional price appreciation that we see in real estate year after year after year, roughly averaging around 7%. But I'll tell you what, the last few years, it's been a heck of a lot higher than that. It's probably been closer to 10% year after year after year, especially during the COVID boom. So the sooner you can get into one of these new built communities, the more equity you're going to be able to capture by sheer virtue of the builder's building. Now, you do have to live with the fact that you are living in a construction site community, essentially. If you're one of the first people to move in and call it phase 1 of 3 or phase 1 of 5 phases, you're going to be living and potentially for a couple years with other homes being built around you, other homes being built deeper in the community. So the builders will sometimes build a bunch of homes at once in one section. Sometimes they'll spread it out. They'll build a few homes in one section. They'll build a few homes in the back, in the middle. So it just depends on the builder. That's something you're going to have to live with in order to capture that equity. Just make sure you understand. Now with infill lots, I mentioned the stuff I do, those little slivers of property in old established neighborhoods or homes that have been knocked down to be rebuilt. There's also price appreciation to be had. Now it depends on the neighborhood. And again, it depends on when you get in. Some people come into a neighborhood, it's an older neighborhood. The homes, let's say, have been built in the 50s and they're like 1,500 square feet. A lot of them are rental properties. Some of them are falling apart. And builders come in and eventually acquire them and knock down the homes and build really nice homes. And depending on if you're on the outskirts of nicer communities, like call it Winter Park, call it College Park, really anywhere in and around greater Orlando within a few mile radius, you're probably right there in a nice neighborhood. If you're on the outskirts of those really, really nice neighborhoods where homes are going for 8, 9, 100,000 plus, maybe $1 million plus, you might find that attractive. You want to live close to that. You want to live close to Park Avenue. You want to live close to Mills 50. You want to live close to downtown Orlando. You want to live in SoDo. Okay. Well, you may have to deal with the fact that you are the first new construction home on a street that is all 1,500 square foot homes that are 50% renters. If you do that, though, you're probably getting a pretty decent deal. You're still very close to, you're probably in a good school zone. You're probably still close to all the natural culture that you want. But you're just going to have to be like, well, I have the biggest, nicest home on the street. It doesn't really fit in now. But over time, it will eventually happen. If you drive around through these neighborhoods, you can see it. You can see, 2, 3 streets. These are all modest homes that are old and need some updating. And then boom, all of a sudden you turn a corner, there's 3 or 4 new construction homes on one street. Then you turn the next corner, there's 1 or 2 being built. You have to have the vision. Okay. If you do, you're going to capture tons of price appreciation because most people stay in their house for 5 to 7 years. If you stay for longer than that, it's even more. You better believe those homes are going to continue to be knocked down or flipped. The infill lots will be built. You're going to capture tons of equity by getting into that new construction home in those neighborhoods that it's going to continue to happen. It's similar to the new construction communities out and farther out. As more homes get built, prices go up, you're going to be able to enjoy those gains. Now back to the new construction homes out in these large, oftentimes gated communities that are generally significantly farther in some cases from downtown Orlando. They do offer some customizability, okay? Custom homes are usually something you have to completely attack on your own. You need to get your own land. You need to hire your own custom home builder. You need to hire your own architect. If you're interested in doing that, let me know. I've done it myself for the home that I live in now, where I'm recording this podcast in my home studio. I can help you with that. If you go with these big builders, you're not going to get that. You're going to get a menu. If you go to a quick move-in home, you don't get any customizability. It's done, right? The home's ready for you to move in, or it will be in a few months. If you go with the paradigm of picking the lot in the community, picking the floor plan, they're going to present you with a list of designer selected, right, options. And there will be some upgrades you can do. Oh, you can upgrade the bedrooms from carpet to hardwood floors or tile. You can upgrade the counters to this. You can upgrade the cabinets from traditional shaker to flat face. Most builders are going to limit that. They don't want to have customizability. It makes them harder to build these homes. They're trying to churn them out. They're trying to create a lot of profit. And for them, it's a numbers game. We got to sell. We got to sell. We got to get people to close. So just be forewarned. You will have some options, but not many. And in some communities, they'll offer special things to get you to move in, especially if they're farther away. from the city center. So it's maybe less attractive to the average buyer who wants to live closer to downtown Orlando. They might offer smart home packages, or they may come with smart. Oh, this is a smart home community. Come live here. Or they may come with solar panels. I had a client that moved into a Lennar community where all the homes came with solar panels. You didn't even have the option. They just did. And it was a kind of a green centric type community, higher energy efficiency. It made the people who buy and live there feel like, oh, I'm getting into a community that cares about the environment. It was a marketing thing, but hey, you're saving money on your energy. Solar panels are great. I have an entire podcast episode where I interviewed Monique Alves, the owner of Sunlight Solar. You should check it out. They're the third largest solar installer in all of Florida, and they happen to be based right here in Orlando. If you need solar, let me know. And finally, community feel and design of these large communities out in the middle of nowhere, right? They design these communities to be snaking, and maybe you want to be in a community where you have a specific type of gated community feel. I have some buyers that say, hey, Phil, I want to live in a gated community. I want to be somewhat secluded from the outside world, but still have a neighborhood and a community feel. That's where those large corporate builder communities can be something that you like. For me personally, I like to live in old established neighborhoods. That's just how I am. I want real character, right? I like history. And that's one of the reasons I do my property development business in and around established neighborhoods in Orlando. And that's where I decided to live. Now we're going to get into some cons about new construction. But before I do, this is a podcast after all, and I want you to listen to more than just this episode. Please go to Spotify, go to Apple, or wherever you're listening to this podcast, and subscribe so that you get an update every single Monday when I drop a new episode. And while you're there, leave me a 5-star review and share a link with your friends. And don't forget about my real estate services. I am a listing specialist. I have a whole podcast dedicated to this. I can get you to sell your home fast for the highest price. And it doesn't have to be stressful. Real estate, whether you're a buyer or a seller, doesn't have to be stressful. If you hire the right pro, hire me and you'll see why. Okay, now to the cons of buying new construction. Let's focus on the infill lots and the knockdown homes in some of the established communities. You want to be careful to make sure you're getting a home that's done by a reputable builder. Make sure you can meet the builder. Make sure you can go to their office or at least vet the builder to understand the quality of their construction standards and the accountability for what's going to happen after the fact. Okay. What if you get in a home, they have a warranty, but then they go out of business, right? You got nobody there to call for a warranty. You really probably don't even have anyone there to sue. You're going to have to figure out to sue the individual license holder. It could be a mess. Now, this is not something that happens very often, but you just want to make sure you don't, because you're not generally going to have a big corporate engine backing the builder like you would if you were out in one of these big planned communities, as they're called. Now, let's focus mainly on the larger builders because that's probably where you're going to end up if you do pursue a new construction home. It's just the path of least resistance and generally more affordable than the ones closer to city center. Number one con in my mind, based on my experience, has been that the expectations of you have not been met by the builder. Meaning you go in there and the wall doesn't appear straight, or there's some defects that are just like, this isn't right. And then the builder might come in and say, well, that's within tolerance. You're going to have to live with it. So with building code standards comes tolerances. Nobody can build a home perfect. We're human beings. It's impossible. There are 3D printed homes out there. There's Lego set homes that are going to be more perfect in the future, and they're already being built, just not that much. Until then, you're going to have to deal with some defects. So your expectations aren't going to be met. I can almost guarantee it. You're going to move into a brand new construction home. You're going to be like, hey, Phil told me there's not going to be any problems with this home. I said that kind of at the beginning of the podcast. That ain't true. You're going to have some problems. You're going to have warranty claims, and you're probably going to have to fight the builder along the way to get them out there, and the squeaky wheel gets the grease. Not to mention the quality. You might walk into that brand new home on day one and be like, man, this is just, the loose doorknob, and this paint looks cheap, and these countertops aren't what I was expecting, and the quality may not be as high as you thought. And that's the reason there's specific custom home builders. Custom home builders will give you the white glove treatment. I mean, it's going to be perfect. Generally, there's still going to be issues, right? But with the big, large corporate builders out there, it's turn and burn, turn and burn. They're chugging these things out. And unfortunately, we have a labor issue in this country right now, certainly with skilled labor. And you kind of are going to get what you're going to get, and you're going to have to deal with the warranties. And time frame, expectations associated with time frame. The sales folks at these communities love to tell you, oh, the home will be ready in 4 months. No, I'm here to tell you that that's not going to happen. Whatever they tell you, and this is true for any sort of construction, whether it's a home renovation, you're getting a new bathroom in your kitchen, or you're building a brand new home, add weeks or months to whatever they tell you. They tell you 4 months, think 6 months. If they tell you 6 months, think 8 months. There will be delays. So much about our happiness in life in general is tempering and setting our expectations correctly. If you expect something to happen in a perfect way and it doesn't, you're going to be sad. If you expect something to happen in a non-perfect way and it happens better than you expected, you're going to be happy. So just chill, you go along for the ride. It's not going to be built in the time frame that you expect. You need to be ready for the aggressive closing tactics associated with the builders. I'm, again, focusing on the big builders here. When you get close to the end of the home being built and they're giving you, or they're about to issue their certificate of occupancy, which comes from the municipality, generally from the county, and they say, all right, this home is livable. Oftentimes that means, and it's in your contract, you need to move in, and you need to move in right now. You might show up to that house for some sort of a final walkthrough, as they call it, when we walk you through the house and you look for those punch list items, those defects. You're going to walk in and say, wait a minute, you guys are telling me I need to close on this home in 2 weeks? The cabinets don't even look done, and it's super dirty, and there's paper all over the place, like stuck to things. We're missing the appliances, and there's no garage door, and all this type of stuff. The builder's going to tell you, don't worry about it, buyer. This is going to be done. We're going to have the CO, or we already have it, and you're going to have to move in. A horror story I have, and this has happened more than once, is I've had buyers with vacation homes buy homes, brand new construction, that come with swimming pools, which is not typical for other forms of home construction. The builders don't make a lot of money on pools, but with vacation homes, it's a must. They've made multiple buyers close because the home itself had a certificate of occupancy, therefore livable, but the pool wasn't done. And the pool wasn't going to be done for probably another couple months. Could you imagine that? And this is an investment property, right? I say vacation home, but these people are buying it so they can put it on Airbnb and rent it out and start making some rental income. And now they're expected to close and have it sit there and pay a mortgage for 1-2 months, maybe more, with no swimming pool. You can't rent out a home to a vacationing family with a half-finished swimming pool in the back. It's crazy. So, but they'll pull out the contract and say you have to close. And if you don't, you're going to pay some huge fine, or you're going to lose a $50,000 deposit that you had to put in along the way. Another thing with these large construction homes that I forgot to mention, these large builders, they're going to oftentimes have staged deposits. You might have to make a small deposit, 5-10 grand up front. And then at some point, you might have to make a very large deposit, call it 50K or more. And that's going to be at risk. And they're going to hold that over your head here at the end when they force you to close and maybe you don't think the home is ready. So just, again, expectations, be aware. They're going to get it done. The pool got done. Everything's going to get done. You just have to temper your expectations. Issues with the warranty. Oh, we have the perfect warranty. Be patient. If the big builders, you're going to have to go through an online portal. You're going to have to deal with a warranty specialist. They may not answer the phone, and they take a long time. Keep your expectations set. For me, the number one con with the big builders and the new construction is that it's far away. And for you, this may not be an issue. For some, it may be. If you want a semi-affordable home, and affordable is subjective. If you want a brand new construction home that's 2,500 square feet, and you want to pay under 500,000, you're going to have to be driving far. You're going to have to be out north of Apopka, well west of Winter Garden, south of Lake Nona, down in like St. Cloud, things like that. So just be aware. And if you work from home, great. Maybe you're going to have to deal with a longer commute. But for a lot of people, getting in a brand new construction home without the cons associated with buying another home, a resale home that is filled with somebody else's history and problems, that might be worth it for them. All right. And finally, the last con is no authentic character. I love living in and around real Orlando, as I call it, near downtown, near all the main streets that Orlando has defined. I have another podcast about how Orlando and the city, or excuse me, in Orange County have defined 12 important regions of Orlando that are Orlando Main Streets, the lifeblood of our economy and history. That's what I want to live nearby. That's not to say you need to or should want to either, but for me, that is a con that you don't get the authentic character and history and the landscaping. Frankly, you're not going to have the giant oak trees, the giant magnolia trees, all that great, beautiful stuff for nature, lakes, and so on. You're generally not going to get that. You might get a retention pond, and you might get trees that are going to be mature in 20, 30 years when you're ready to, and probably already have, moved on. But not to end on a negative note. Overwhelmingly, new construction is what people want. You get the warranty, you get the HDTV quality, you get the high ceilings, you get the modern colors and architectural design, and you don't inherit somebody else's problems. It's easy to get property insurance. It's a dream. I highly recommend new construction if you can afford it or you can deal with the drive. If you're interested in new construction, I know everything about new construction. I build homes. Okay. I've sold many, many homes and from corporate builders. I've sold many, many homes from other builders, including the builders I hire to build my homes. I'm your guy. And if you need help selling your home first, let me know. There's specific strategies we can employ so that we can time the sale of your current home with the completion of your future home. I know how to negotiate that and work with mainly the corporate builders and even some smaller builders that we can mesh the two together and have a closing date that is pretty darn close together. So you don't have to move out of your house into somebody else's house and get a storage unit and then move in. I know the tactics to manage these builders, where to look around town. I have special software for it. Hit me up. I'm your guy for new construction or any other home for that matter, and certainly for helping you sell your home. And of course, follow me at _Phil Kruse. That's Kruse with a K, Kruse. I'm on Instagram and Facebook on my two main social channels. You can just Google me, Phil Kruse, Kruse. Put the words real estate on the end of that. You're going to find me. Follow me on all my social media channels. I'm producing a lot of content, free content, to help buyers and sellers like you understand the real estate market and really understand Orlando. I love the city. I have an entire podcast dedicated to why Orlando is so great. It's actually a really good episode. You should check it out. And always know that your best life in Orlando is within reach. Keep embracing every moment. Thanks for listening. Cheers.